Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Jennifer West-Granahan here. I am continuing my journey with speaking with people. Cordero actually happens to be one of my students, but before he was even a student, he closed a deal. Okay, so he started with a signed, sealed, and delivered deal, which we're going to talk about to help you guys grow, get inspired, and we'll talk about his journey. So without further ado, let's introduce Mr. Cordero. So Cordero, introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from. If you want to say your age, you could do that because he's a baby. I know a lot of young guys are watching this, and hopefully he inspires you guys to kill it.
Yeah, so I'm 22 years old. Born and raised in Middle Tennessee, but nowhere in particular. Like I was born in Shelbyville, Tennessee. It's a real small country town. Um, Now I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's where I do most of my business, and that's where I closed my first deal actually in Nashville, Tennessee, because it's a really hot market. Um, yeah, I closed my first deal. You want to talk about the first deal I closed already?
Yeah, so let's say, how did you get, so first of all, welcome, Mr. Cordero. Okay, Cordero's going to do
Thank
big things, man. You guys watch for him. Okay, and we're going to let you know how you could contact him on his Snapchat where he's posting, what he's doing these days. All right, so let's get into the deal. So let's talk about how did you get this deal?
Okay, so we spent me and my brother, Devontae. Me and him, we went to high school together. We've been real close since, so that's why I call him my brother. But we spent so much time literally handwriting letters. We bought some bandit signs, put the bandit signs out. We put so much time driving for dollars, all of that, and none of that got us our first deal. So just putting that energy out there. Devontae, his parents lived in this one house and they were renting. And then as they were about to move out, they were about to buy their house. And then I guess he was in talks with the landlord. The landlord at the house where his parents were renting, they said something like, um, may want to sell, they may be interested or something like that. It was an older gentleman, and I'll never forget his name, of course. His name was Mr. Friday. He had the most countryest actor at that. So Mr. Friday. So me in my head, I'm the guy who's like trying to plot out. I mean, we both take action. I'm always trying to think about how we can maximize our energy. So I'm like, well, let's. I don't know if this is really going to work. I mean, the house was in wonderful condition. Not too much we needed to add to it if we were to get it. So I'm like, I don't know if this is really going to work if we can get this at a good deal or good price. I think we should just continue to focus on trying to talk to other sellers. But Vontae, he's the one who's better. That's why he does most of the marketing, and I do more of the other things. Like, I mean, I put the bandit signs out, but I'm mostly on the phones and talking to the sellers, facilitating the deals. So he's
Teamwork,
the
man.
one who
Teamwork, man. You
has.
guys focus on your strengths. Just to intervene for a second, Cordero, that's a really good point because, a lot of people, back in the day, people would say, focus on your weaknesses and grow your weaknesses. No, okay? Focus on your strengths, okay?
Right.
Work those strengths.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what he's doing with him and his brother. So,
Yeah,
awesome.
and that's one thing that we wanted to make sure we could, because there's no sense in partnering with somebody who does the exact same things you do. So I needed somebody who can kind of like fill a void, and he had that, like he had the ability to be able to, like, there have been times where we're just walking and somebody will walk up and talk to us or something, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to give this person that time of day. And then he'll be like, oh yeah, we do real estate. And it turns out that that person is like, has been doing real estate for like 15 years or something like that. I'm like, wow. Because
Wow.
Vontae took the to put it out there. And so he was just like, well, really can't hurt. So he shot his shot and talked to the seller. I don't think it's like, he got it to the point where the seller wanted to sell, but I don't think he got to the point where he was able to facilitate the deal. So he had to pass it off to me. So that's when I started talking. I feel like if I was talking to him in the beginning, if I had the gall to go ahead and make that offer in the beginning, we may have been able to negotiate a lower price. But it was Vontae who got it, and then I facilitated back and forth. But of course, as you know, Jennifer, we didn't structure this as a traditional wholesale deal because Mr. Friday was just not having it. He was just not going for that. Once he saw the contract that we had, he understood that it was mostly like an escape clause, and he didn't want to waste his time. His whole thing was he we found this out retroactively. He actually owns a lot of property, and this one I don't know what it was about this one. He was just willing to let it go for that price. But if not, he was just gonna lease it out again because like I said, Vontae's parents were moving out. So he put the for rent sign in the yard. And he was just like, look, we can sell it, but if you guys don't want to buy it, then I'm just gonna rent it out again. I don't care. I do this. And he's been doing this for quite some time. So I was
Right.
like, okay. And
So he didn't really have he didn't have any really deep motivation. He was like, if I could sell it, I could sell it. If I don't care. I'm renting it again.
Again, it's kind of similar to the other guy that me and you were talking about. I don't think he disclosed the motivation because I think there was a reason why, either that or he was just really like an older gentleman and saw something in me and Vontae to where he would be nice enough that either that, but he literally was giving away like $150,000 in equity to us, which I'm like, hey, I don't know. Either that or he did have a motivation. Maybe he was tired of, because he's an older gentleman. I think he might have been tired of coming to that part of town to deal with things.
That's very possible.
Yeah, he just didn't disclose it to us. So what we did was, I was like, okay. He was like 200,000. I was like, well, I can do. He said 200,000, and you guys have to close in 14 days. Or it might have even been like 10 days or something like that. But the last day was like on a weekend, so we couldn't close. So that's one thing that was giving us trouble. So I was like, okay, this is what he gave us. So I couldn't give him the wholesale contract because he was just like, this is an escape clause. I think I want to sell it directly. So I had to go talk to a buyer that I had already built a rapport with, someone who I could trust, because I knew that I would have to connect the buyer and the seller and then count on the buyer to then write me a finder's fee.
Right, not cut you out. People could do that, okay? And then depending on where you are, like I'm in New York, and if you go to court for a finder's fee, like you're not going to get paid. The person's going to get away with not paying you. So it is very important that you have, that you either have it in writing, or, you have the contract to assign, or you find someone that actually is a trustworthy person. And most seasoned investors are trustworthy because they want you to bring business to them again. Okay. And I found that most of them are really, really good people. It's the people who are like the fly by nights who are like not going to pay you.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
You definitely understand that. And we, to clarify, we have been putting in the energy for months. I have wanted to get into real estate investing for like the past 2 years of my life. Like since I was 19, I would say. I knew I wanted to own a business, and I didn't know what business. So I started studying what was the best. Everybody parks their money in real estate. So I said, let me just do real estate. And I studied it. I lived in New Hampshire at the time. Not a good experience. Came back to Tennessee in February of 2018. And then from there, I told Vontae, I said, let's do real estate. And we've been working on it. And then before we got to that first deal, when we made our mind up to do wholesaling in particular, because there's so many different avenues to get into real estate, when we said we were going to do wholesaling, I think it was about 3 or 4 months of us trying things or what have you. But we had known that investor, we known her for like a year. We known her for a year. She had given us some opportunities and just like helped us out with some things, giving us tips or what have you. So we had a rapport with her. So when we brought her this deal, she was like, okay, fine. I'll write you guys. I'll close with Mr. Friday. Mind you, I had to go back and forth with them facilitating the deal. Mr. Friday and my investor, they never met until closing, to the day we closed at the title company, and they weren't even in the same room. Like they just walked past each other. So I had to facilitate the deal.
And your buyer was okay with that? I mean, your seller was okay with that. Was he pestering you to talk to the buyer?
Not at all. He was not. He almost strictly wanted to work with me, and I let him know that I would be partnering with my buyer. He was just like, he was just cool. I think he just wanted to work with me. Like he didn't want to talk to anybody else.
Good. And another thing I want to touch on that you mentioned is that you were orchestrating the deal. Okay, you were making sure everything was still going the way it was supposed to be while during closing and, during title check. Like, when you sign that paperwork, man, it ain't over till it's over. Like, you are legit orchestrating this situation. Like, if you're calling the title company, if you're in a title company, or the attorney, is the title clean? Like, what's going on? Because that thing could fall apart at any time. So that's very important, Cordero, and I'm glad you brought that up, that you're orchestrating the deal, because that is so true. So, go ahead. You made a face when I said that, because you were like,
no, I'm telling you, he was tough. I mean, I just imagine all sellers was tough, and the fact that he was giving us such a discount, he knew he was, so he was tough. Like I said, he wanted us to close very, very quickly, and something. I think it was just the title company that we were working with that kind of stopped us from closing so quickly, or something like that. But he wanted us to close quickly. He wanted this. He wanted that. We had to pay for some of his taxes. It was only like $1,800. The insurance on the title insurance, evidently the seller usually pays the title insurance here, but he was just like, I want you guys to pay that. In his words, he said, I don't want to pay anything. That's what he said. That's how he said it to me. Like, I don't want to pay anything.
And listen, that's fine. He's giving you such a great deal that your end buyer not going to have a problem taking care of that. Not at all. And that's how it works, man. But he knows. He's an investor, so he knew the deal. He's like, listen, if I was getting that deal, I'm going to be paying everything because I want that deal. So that's what you're going to do for me. And it sounds like he did give you like a little bit of a shot. It seems like he, like you said, I feel like he did get a liking to you and, is letting you guys test the waters with this.
That's what it seemed like. And I really appreciate him for that, because every time I see him, and I followed up with him since then, which I will continue to do because he owns a lot of property, but he's like, well, he says the same thing. Well, I hope you guys made some money off that, and I'm just proud I could work with you. Thank you. And that's how he kind of talks like older Elvis. I
love that. Yeah. That's such a beautiful thing. He really did give you a shot. He's like, listen, I can't do that wholesale contract. Listen, at the end of the day, you would have found a buyer anyway. So I'm not sure why he was so, shaky on the contract. I guess he was afraid that you were going to waste his time. But at the end of the day, you didn't waste his time. You proved that. So, between getting the contract and finding the buyer, that didn't take long because you already had a relationship with the buyer. So that was immediate.
That didn't take long at all. It might have been the same day. When he again, I didn't sign a regular wholesale contract.
Right.
So it wasn't like I had a contract. So it was like when he said, okay, we'll sell, this is the number, and we negotiated over the phone, then I might have called my buyer and was just like, hey, what do you think about this? And she was like, let me do some numbers. Let me run it by, do the comps, do her due diligence. And then she called me back the next day and was just like, okay, we can get this taken care of. And then I called him. I was just like, yeah, because I remember specifically he said he doesn't want to sign the wholesale contract. He wants like a regular, got it from a real estate agent contract. Like, I don't know what's the terminology for that, but that's what he wanted. So I was like, okay, I told her, just go ahead and send him over, give me or email me the contract with her name, her company and information on it, and I'll email it to him. The only thing I was doing was facilitating. My name was on nothing at this point.
Okay. So I just want to intervene for a second because, technically, and I'm not an attorney, but technically, I want you guys, you wholesalers out there to know that, technically you guys, if you're not licensed, you cannot broker a deal, okay? Because you are not licensed. And when you have a property under contract, you have equitable interest. And essentially, you're selling that paper, okay? So that's why it makes it legal for you. But technically, you cannot broker a deal per se, okay? So technically you cannot broker a deal, okay? But in this case, the way he was the middleman, but he got paid as a finder fee, right?
Right. Okay. So I definitely did something illegal on my on my first deal, but no, what it was a matter of, I think you said it one time, was there was a deal, there was an opportunity in place, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't structure it the normal way. So I didn't want to lose the deal, and I knew that I could benefit.
You weren't doing something illegal, okay? Because it's all about verbiage, okay? There was nowhere, your name wasn't anywhere on that, okay? And this is what I was taught by one of my mentors back years ago. We won't talk about how long that was, but essentially you were a consultant, Cordero. Okay? You were
Right.
consulting your buyer. You were consulting your buyer on a deal. So therefore, you were not doing
Right.
anything illegal. You were consulting. Okay?
Right.
So
And
I want you to know that too, because it's all like a play on like words to, on things legality. And again, I'm not a lawyer. Please speak to your lawyer on this, on the topics that we're talking about right now. But in that way, you were acting as a consultant to your buyer,
right.
consulting her on a deal.
As a matter of fact, the way I let Mr. Friday know, I said, well, really, when I the way under the context in which I met my buyer, she had this like class where she would like teach people, but it completely fell apart because everyone she brought into the class, they just didn't take it serious. So one person who was in their class was actually Vontae's
You?
ex-girlfriend.
Oh,
Yeah, it was Vontae's ex-girlfriend, and so she was just like, I didn't take the class serious. Maybe you guys may have interest, so or maybe me. So she introduced me to the girl because she was just like, maybe you guys. So she wasn't doing the class or anything anymore. So, but in that class, what she was like pretty much hire everybody who was her student, and they would pretty much go bird dog or go out and find deals for her, and
exactly.
they kind of work with, right. So what
Exactly. And that's
we
exactly what you were doing. That's exactly what you're doing. You could either call it bird dog or you could call it consulting. Okay. So you were not
right.
doing anything wrong.
That's like literally what I was doing was like consulting for her because I just brought the deal right to let him know that, oh, this is who I'm working with, or he kind of saw it as, or we positioned it as, I'm working for this company, and they have their own ass. But no, it didn't take me to, back to your original question, it didn't take me long to put two and two together. I was like, all right, got this guy. I know this will be a nice deal for her because I ran my comps and I was like, wow, really $150,000 in equity? She would
Wow.
love this. And there was like absolutely nothing. Like he had it all, the kitchen was updated and everything. The only thing we moved around was uh well, mind you, that brings up another point about this deal. Um, so from the time of actually getting that contract signed and everything, from closing, like what have you, to when we actually got paid, it was like felt like a million years, but it was like 2 or 3 months because what one thing that to get her to kind of agree with it, I said, you guys don't have to pay us when you close with Mr. Friday. They're flippers, so when you rehab it and then sell it, then you can pay us because that would just make it her more willing to work with us. Um, so she's like, okay. So we went through the entire rehab process. We actually helped with a couple of things, just like screwing in some light bulbs or things like that. But we helped with it, and we were kind of a part of the process as well. And then we got paid. And I think that gave us good exposure because we do want to. I personally want to go deeper into real estate, so that lets me know like what to expect, as far as time frame and everything goes. But so the time that we signed that I talked to him, and I was just like, let me find a buyer, that was just like a split second. But from that point to getting paid, that was like a millennium, like forever.
Right. Well, that is a long time in wholesale world. Okay. Because in wholesale world, you generally can get paid in your 30-day time frame, 45-day time frame. So 3 months, 30, 60, 90 days. That's like 12 years. Okay. But it was worth it because how much did you get paid?
$15,000.
It's a nice fee. Okay. That's definitely a nice fee on that deal. So now let's just rewind for a second, okay? Because once they agreed on the deal and you said, you were orchestrating it. Now, are you in a state where it's an attorney closing state? So her attorney sent the contract to his attorney, or how did the contract situation go? Because that's what people like to talk about.
It's a title state, a title closing state. So she sent me, like I said, she sent me the contract to send to him. He wanted just somebody just to email him a contract, and he was going to print it out, sign it, and then we met him at the house. Um, excuse me, he handed it to us. He actually had an envelope with my name written on it. He spelled my name wrong, uh, and he handed us a contract. But it's I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee is a title closing state. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but because we worked with the title company in Franklin, Tennessee, when
Okay.
that's like a very wealthy county. And I remember when we went there, the attorney that we were working with was not her original attorney. It was just some guys who, that we met who were really cool. And we actually like had me and Vontae actually hung out with them and like had a meeting with them or what have you. But it was not her original attorney. So
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So now so let's rewind again. Okay. So now he gives you the contract, and then you then do what with the contract? Where did the earnest money come into play, or the
um,
down payment? Like what happened with that?
oh my goodness, that's another thing. He was definitely adamant about getting the earnest money, but I could tell the way he was reacting. He thought we were just going to give him the earnest money. So of course we took the earnest money. I think it was like 2,500 here, and I think we ended up saying, well, we'll put down 2,000, but we put it with the title company
Right.
to
Earnest
start
money,
start
just to intervene for a
start.
second, just to intervene. Your earnest money deposit never goes to the seller. Okay. It goes in an escrow account, which is a third party account that's held. Okay. Either held by the attorney or held by the title company. So you're never giving, so I don't know why he would expect you to give him the earnest money, homeboy, because if he's an investor, he knows very well that that ain't going to him. So that's interesting. But
He tried. Yeah.
he tried. Okay, but just so you guys know, in YouTube University, earnest money is going to a third party. Okay, title company, attorney. It's called an escrow account. Open an escrow. That's what that earnest money is going. Okay, so he was adamant about that. So now, okay, so what happened?
So we well, not we, but my the, the person she went to her title company in Frank, and this is the title company that she always uses. So this is like, I don't know if I can say this or I should say this, but she let me know sometimes she can just say she put the earnest money and she doesn't have to because she's comfortable
She
with them
built
and
a
being able to
relationship with them.
open up.
She built a
Right.
relationship with them. Okay, real estate is about relationships. Okay, yes, and that's some of the perks about having these relationships, and that's a good relationship to have. There's nothing wrong with saying that. They facilitated the deal. They did everything legally. All relationships, man, are huge in real estate. So that's a beautiful thing. So she's going to definitely be one of your VIP buyers going forward. That's for sure.
No, she absolutely is.
Is
Absolutely.
that the is that
Uh,
is that the woman that we were talking about on the last phone call? Yeah. Okay.
mm.
All right. Awesome. Okay. And I love that she's a female. That's a good thing. Female
Yeah,
power.
what I'm starting to realize in real estate, because when I was in New Hampshire, I met my first mentor there. She was actually an agent, worked with Keller Williams, and Mr. Friday, of course, he was a really nice guy. He was obviously willing to work with us, but a lot of the females that I come across are the ones who are willing to cut you a break. They're the ones who see the potential in me. They're the ones who can say, "Well, I know that you're going to do something, so I can help you out now. I'm not looking for anything in return, but I can give you advice or pointers here." So I mean, I don't want to say that like men are just animals and women are just nice, but that's something that's ubiquitous. I've come across that a lot with like yourself, like just really willing to help.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Female, at the end of the day, and I talk about this a lot, generally females are not egocentric. We're problem solvers and we're givers, we're nurturers, not by nature. So that's why we're really good at this business, because we're great at solving problems. People trust us. We're not egotistical. And I hope, obviously, you get something from that, Cordero. And I think you do, because you resonate with that energy. So that's only going to help you. Okay, like puffing out your chest to see who's the bigger, stronger person, that really doesn't get you that far. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, so that's awesome. So is there anything else that you want to talk about that was maybe challenging about that deal that could maybe help someone?
Um, Again, just to kind to reiterate the point of was one, it didn't go the traditional way, but I still found a way. And second, even though it took long, um, there was, of course, we all know that I didn't stop stressing until I cashed the check. I didn't even take a picture of the check. I think that's something that people do is they take a picture of their first check. I didn't even take a picture. I would
Right.
have never done it. No.
You're like, I want to make sure that this thing clears, honey.
Exactly. So with that being said, I had to wait, and I had to have faith through that whole process. It took me like, okay, I know this is going to work out, and making sure that my energy was still aligned with what I knew I deserved, what I knew was coming to me, and making sure that throughout that whole 3 months, because it felt like a roller coaster. So, we stayed consistent. And the whole time I was thinking, like, man, it's taking forever, but I did put the energy in. We did put the energy in to get here. So it's just have faith that the energy would come. Just having faith through the process and make it work. Because there's a lot of ways legally that you can make these deals work that's not traditional.
100%. I say that all the time. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so and that's awesome. And well, you've never heard that saying before?
My grandmother says that all the time. I thought she was really serious. I was like, Granny, y'all killing cats, but she says that.
You're so crazy. So yes, that's the beauty about real estate is that you could be creative, man. Okay, there's more than one way. Do not give up. Okay, do not give up just because it doesn't fit in your little, box. Think out of the box, and that's what I always tell people: think out of the box. So now let's rewind and talk about, you were talking about that your energy was always aligned, and you kept having faith. But Cordero wasn't sitting in a room, like in a black room, just sitting, hoping and praying. Like he was actually doing the work, okay? I don't want like people to think that, oh, you're just going to think things into existence, okay? Because people say that a lot. Yes, your mind does create, okay? Your thoughts are energy. However, if you are not backing that up with intention and action, then it's not going to work. You have to do action. You have to work. You have to recognize the opportunities, take the action, reach out to this person, do that. Okay. So like what are you doing for your mindset? Actually, like, are you doing anything in particular? Like what was able to keep you on track? Where are you now with that?
Well, I will say that since we started, a big part of the reason why I chose to join your mentorship program was because you had the whole energy and mindset. And I was hoping that once we started working with you, you would help develop that. So what I'm doing now is very similar to some of the things that you do, some of the things that are in the book by Rhonda. I forgot her last name.
Rhonda Byrne. Rhonda Byrne.
Okay, Rhonda Byrne.
The power, right? Power. Yes.
Right. The secret, the power, a lot of those things. And a lot of things that I had been doing before. So what I was doing before though, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of really mastering myself, understanding myself. So how I would react to certain things. So I didn't know what it was, but when I listened to the audiobook, it kind of worded it nice. But you can't control your thoughts, but you can control your feelings. You can understand your feelings. And I have this saying, I don't know if I heard it or I came up with it, but I always say, let people know how they make you feel. And don't be afraid to tell yourself how something made you feel. Because a lot of times people will be like, oh, if I worked so hard to get that deal and that guy, he just didn't agree to the offer, that would make me feel like, man, that would make me feel like I didn't perform well enough or what have you. But I can ignore that and just try to push past it, So instead of ignoring it, push past it, I really am real and honest with myself about how I feel about this. So that helps me to project that energy outward. That helps me to really realize, okay, I felt like I wasn't good enough, but I know I was good enough. I know that I am. So I can continue to write these letters. I can continue to put these bandit signs out and not be discouraged. I'm not like trying to cover up something because that discouragement is going to come back if you don't address it. So those are the practices that I did in the process of getting to my first deal. Like I said, a lot of prayer, a lot of having faith. I'm definitely a spiritual person. I want to master my own energy, and I feel like we have a weekly call. Me and Vontae, we hop on the call every Monday, and we'll kind of go over our goals for the next week and talking about energy goals and actual feet on the ground goals. So I tell them this all the time. What we do, all the action we take is like the car. Our energy is like the gas, because people will talk about having gas, or people will talk about having a nice car, but you have to have both of them together, you know. The energy is our fuel. The energy, the mindset, us being positive, us being happy all the time, is necessary for us to. There were times when I still have 5 jobs. So there's times where I get off work, or I talk to sellers on my lunch break instead of eating. And then when I get home, it's like, man, I'm really tired. I, I got bandit signs, or I'm like trying to skip trace a list of driving for dollars that Vontae sent me or something like that. And that didn't come from just me being like, man, I really want some more money. Honestly, sometimes money is not enough of motivation. My energy right now and how I feel about it right now is what propels me to have to do it. So my energy, mastering your own energy is everything. And that's the difference. A lot of people, they don't do that. They think that wholesaling is just a 1, 2, 3 step process, and they don't put their mind, body, and spirit behind it, and you go far without it. So that's what I do.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's so powerful. And especially at, such a young age, to be so evolved and understand, controlling your emotions and your feelings and being so self-aware. Cordero is such an amazing thing to have at such a young age. Okay. So you may be an old soul. I know I was definitely an old soul at that age, as well, but that's a beautiful thing. And not even that, you have to have a deeper reason. I talk about this all the time, that it's more than money. Okay. First of all, you're helping people solve problems. That's number one. And of course you want to make money. Okay. But once you actually reach a certain monetary goal, it's more than money. You have to have a deeper why, a deeper purpose that's going to help you when you don't feel like doing it. Like Cordero was saying, he would go home and he's tired, and he, really doesn't maybe want to put in the work because he's tired, but he does it anyway. Okay. That's like either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. That's him being disciplined in his purpose. Okay. And you're not going to necessarily like every single part of the business. Okay. It's just like, people, not everybody likes to work out, but they like to look cute in their clothes. Okay. You do the work, right? You do the work. So my point is that, and I digress and I do this a lot. What the hell was my point? My point is that to have a purpose. Okay. So now speaking of that, and I hope we're not losing you guys, because this is actually really, really powerful. And this is going to propel you into action when you don't feel like it. Cordero, might be a young chickadee, but he has a very deeper purpose. Okay. Way deeper than money. He has a bigger picture that he sees for himself. Okay. Do you want to share some of that, Cordero?
Absolutely. So what I feel is everybody has to have a big why. And like I said, energy drives me. And a lot of times the money's not enough. So my why, honestly, growing up, to give you a little bit of my background growing up, we were poor. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There were times when it looked like we had a lot, but we were impoverished, straight up. No matter where we were, because we moved around so much. So we would be in certain areas. I remember going to schools with kids who were like, their parents were doctors, because I went to like this wealthy school in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's called Blackman, what have you. And they're all just like, well, this and that. The only reason why I was at that school is because my dad was a drug dealer, and he was just so happened to be doing good at that. Nobody knew that my dad was selling drugs, and that's why I was at that school. But I was only there for a short period of time before I was just back in like the slums of where I was born at, and people ask me all the time, because if you listen to me, you get to know me, you wouldn't think that I come from that. And people all the time, they attest it. They're like, nah, you ain't from where I'm from. You don't know what I say. You just don't know, because I don't look like where I come from, because I'm not a product of my environment. I mean, your environment shapes who you are to a certain degree, but I didn't let that dictate who I was.
Right. You're not a victim. You don't have, what I notice about you, Cordero, is that you do not have a victim mentality. You're very strong. Okay. And you have to give yourself credit for that, because like a ton of people, I don't know what the percentage is, man, but probably way more than, 70% of people that would come from where you're coming from have a victim mentality. They feel like, oh, this is where I'm from, so this is why I can't do this, and this is why blah, blah, blah. And you are so far from that. And I hope that inspires people too. Like, don't play the victim, man. Look at Cordero. Like, you would never think that he's coming from what he's telling us right now. So don't be the victim, man. Just do the work and have a vision. But go ahead, Cordero.
That is very important to note, and that is my why, because there are so many people who can say, well, this is what I come from, because not only was like my whole family, my whole lineage, they were like drug dealers. My grandfather on my mom's side, I'm pretty sure he was like a pimp or something. I know he was murdered by a pimp. Like, I'm so serious. Like, like, but there's really no
Yes.
there is no, as far as I could look back and see, there was no substantial, like, there was no backing for us to stand on. And then when I look to my left and my right, my best friend, his family, my cousin, their family, their history or what have you, it's like none of us can really stand on anything but like us being colored people or black people, or the minority, black people mostly in America. I do I help and do for whomever I can, black, white, it doesn't really matter. But I saw and actually talked with some people. I remember talking to this guy, and I was just like, man, we don't have to be basketball players. We don't have to be athletes. We don't have to be drug dealers, and we don't have to be rappers. We can literally be whatever we want. We can be real estate investors. We can own our own businesses. We can be fashion designers. We can be artists. There's a guy who, I know this for a fact, he climbs mountains for a living. Like, that's all he does. He makes like $300,000 a year, maybe even more, just climbing rocks. He's sponsored by Nike, and he sleeps in his van, but he's happy. He does what he loves.
Amazing. And that, listen, let's rewind. Okay, he is happy, and he is doing what he loves, and he's getting paid to do what he loves. Like, that whole thing that you have to remember, society programs us all wrong, man. That 9 to 5, man, if you're not doing what you love, it kills your soul. It kills your soul, and you're no longer waking up inspired and happy. And you do not need to do that, people. Okay, you can get paid to do something that you love, that's for sure. Okay, so that's so profound right there. You said so many things that are so profound, but continue going.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing that I pulled from that, and I was explaining that to the guy, and he's from Memphis, a good friend of mine. He looked at me, he's like, man, because in the conversation, he has a daughter. I was like, man, you're gonna go back to selling drugs, and you got a daughter now, what have you? When he tried to start a business, he was just like, man, there ain't no other way. And he was so serious. He was so adamant on it. He was like, there's no other way. There's no other way for us as black people to make it. If you, all you got to do is sell drugs and then invest that. But I was like, man, there is another way, because people do it all the time. And when my little brother, and one day when I have children and they're like, well, how do I make something out of nothing? I can't look them in the eye and be like, well, I need you to risk your life and freedom first. And then once you make enough money, hopefully, if you're not murdered or arrested or caught into the system or something like that, hopefully you can invest that into a business or invest that into real estate. I can't do that. I made it a point that despite what my father did growing up, despite what everything was around me, as you can see by my whole character and my demeanor, I don't represent any of that. And that's why people think I'm a fraud sometimes. I'm like, no, it's just because I am who I am.
Right.
And despite all of that, I'm going to show you that you can make it once by putting the effort in. I'm not, like you said, I'm not playing the victim. I never even thought to, because I didn't have the opportunity growing up. I didn't have the opportunity to be like, well, if I just have somebody feel bad for me, then maybe somebody will give me something. It was never that.
Right.
If I didn't get it, then go get it.
Right.
You know, and I didn't want to turn. I have a hustler's mentality, but I didn't want to turn that into. I also think ahead, and I'm like, well, I don't know no old hustlers. I don't know no old like 50-year-old, 40-year-old drug dealers still out here or like just out here doing it. None. Not all of them is either locked up or they're dead. And that's not even over exaggeration. Like literally all of them. Maybe a couple of them, like a handful of them, but come on now, really. So
Right.
I was like, man, that's not what I want. So for me doing real estate, when I decided that I wanted to start a business, because like I said, growing up, my dad, he never had a 9 to 5. I think if he would go to jail every now and again, and then like when he would get out and be on probation, he had to get like a job just because or something like that. And like It'd be something silly. But other than that, he never was like, all right, son, I'm gonna go clock into work and I'll be back. And he didn't nothing. So I grew up. It was like this, like that lifestyle. Like he's always here. That's the lifestyle that we lived. You know, it was like we never knew what was gonna happen. So I was like, man, that's comfortable to me. At least being uncomfortable is comfortable to me now because we never like I went to like 5 or 6 different high schools by the time it was all over. We
Wow.
always moving around, no stability, and that had something to do with like the lifestyle that my parents led. You know, my mom, she had a regular 9 to 5, but she hated it. So I never had that image of, okay, you can get a job and just fall in love with it and do that until you're 65, 70 years old. So I knew I wanted to start a business, and then I found out state, and I found Jay Morrison, and of course I want to. There's a lot of people from Jay Morrison to Max Maxwell to yourself, or there's a lot of people who inspired me, and I was just like, well, this could be a lane, this could be an avenue that I take, but not just for the sake of making money, because I knew that I would be successful either way. I was really back to college. I would probably become an engineer or something, but I was like, I want to show people that the traditional way that's kind of drowning you trapped, you don't have to do that. So that's why I chose real estate, because people don't believe me when I tell them this. If I tell them about wholesale, I'm like, listen, all you got to do is get out there and hustle, and you can make $15,000 assignment fee, or you can make 20,000. I've heard of people making $60,000 like just by putting the energy in. I'm like, wow. So you're telling me I can make good money? I don't have to sell drugs? I'm like, yes. You don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to sell your soul and be a goofy rapper with colorful pink hair, you know what I'm saying, wearing funny clothes just for the sake of attention, as if your character isn't enough for you, you know, enough for the world. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to run and jump and do flips to be an athlete. You can be yourself and still provide wealth and gain wealth and still help people and still do what you love, be whatever you want. Because real estate is just, it's just a way for my money to accumulate. I can accumulate wealth, but I can still do what I'm passionate about. Passionate about is helping people. So that's one thing I want to show people. You don't have to do those things. You don't have to sell. I know where that's going to end you. I've never been a rapper. I don't really know any rappers, but we hear the story all the time. If you pay attention to it, you'll know that it's generally a joke for them to lose. Nobody aside from, even if you look back through all the greats, some of what people would consider the greatest era of hip hop, like Jay-Z or what have you, there's only a handful of them are still around. I mean, Rakim was one of my favorite rappers, but I don't know. I'm not saying failure or anything. I don't know what he's doing. You know Jay-Z, you know Nas, you know whomever, but for the most part, these rappers are getting caught up into a lifestyle that dictates, okay, you do whatever I tell you to do now, what's hot now, and then once society's done with you, we throw you to the side. And the same thing with athletes. I've seen so many people put all their weight in their life, devote their life to practicing day in and day out because they know that Michael Jordan did that. But then what happens when they tear their ACL or something? The whole world just disregards the effort and energy that they put in, as if you as a person, you're not good enough for me if you can't jump high enough, if you can't run and you can't dunk for me, you know, if you can't do all of that, you're not good enough for us. So it was important for me, especially within the Black community where we don't have a lot of value within ourselves. We don't see the value in ourselves outside of how much money we make or what have you. And first of all, let me show you that there's more than the couple ways to make money that you've been studying. There's more than that. And that's not even where your value is. Your true value is in who you are and what you do. So stop letting people tell you who you are just for the sake of money. It's like they pay us to tell us who we are. You know what I'm saying? It's like they give us money to dictate what our environment is, who we should be. And I don't think that's right. I feel like the real representation of Black people hasn't been disclosed in a long time. So we think that we are, I don't know, we think that we are whatever rapper. I wouldn't say anybody or talk bad about anybody, but for the most part, we have a false identity of ourselves, and I think that's a part of my focus. That's a part of my why. When I don't feel like putting out bandit signs, because I know each little thing that I do now equates to the next deal equates to the next one, and that's a snowball effect. It's a slippery slope, if you will, onto me being able to have the platform that somebody will listen to me and know that I can tell them your value isn't in what you do isn't even what you do to entertain people. It's what you do to help people, or how you love, or how well you can love, and how good you can do that. How much can you provide? Because it seems like the narrative now, the dominant narrative now is that, well, the worse I can do to people, the worse of a person I am, the better, the more you will like me. I'm willing to kill you. I'll steal from you. I'll rob from you. I'll sell you drugs without hesitation. I won't love you. I'll cheat on my girlfriend. I won't have, there's no such thing as a wife. I got plenty kids. I don't take care of them. I neglect them. That's all that life's about. It's like the worse you are, as far as in the Black community that I see to my left and to my right, that's the dominant narrative. The worse you are, the better. And I'm like, that's not the truth. We're tearing ourselves down as people. I feel like we're moving. I can't play the victim, because I'm not a victim to anything but myself if I play the victim. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that's coming up against me is me, and I want to break that. I really have to break that. Or
you've done it already. Cordero. You've done it already, my friend. Okay? You've done it already. You see it in your soul. You see it when you're speaking. You see it through your spirit. Okay? And then talking about the Black culture, you could see that narrative is starting to turn around now. Okay? A lot of people are starting, people of color are getting involved in real estate. They are starting their own business. A lot of them are not having that victim mentality. Of course, it's not going to change overnight, and you're always going to have that type of person. Okay, that's just a type of person. Black, white, pink, purple. There's always going to be the victim players. But as far as coming up and you helping others, I know, one of your things was that obviously you want to inspire and motivate people to come out of what society dictates for you to do. Okay, what they tell you that you're worth. Like if you go to a 9-to-5 and they say, Cordero, you're only worth, let me see, Cordero, you're 22, blah, blah, blah. You're only worth $29,000 a year, my friend. Okay. And here you just made $15,000. Okay. More than half of that. Okay. So listen, especially when you work for an employer, they are dictating, and society does dictate. That's why I say society programs people all wrong. They say, you're this, you should be at this point. You're doing this, you're at this point. You're this at this point. You're at a 9-to-5. They're telling you when to take lunch. They're telling you when to go to the bathroom. They're telling you when to take vacation, 2 weeks, permission slip to go to the doctor. Like that is self-enslavement at the end of the day. And you at such a young age recognize that already. Which is like, bro, you're so ahead of the game mindset, okay? Because you're only 22. There are people who are like 52, 62 who never evolved. They're still stuck on stupid, like they're arrested development. They don't evolve. So, bro,
right.
Cordero right now has a Snapchat, okay? Which I'm going to put, below in the information where you could follow him and, and watch him grow. And he is eventually going to start a YouTube channel. Okay. So he's going to continue to inspire you guys to learn and grow. And listen, he is one to watch, my man, my sisters, my YouTube channel, because when you hear where he has come from and you see where his mindset is, you're like, where is this coming from this kid? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, where is this coming from? And obviously it's coming from the higher power. Okay. So you have greatness, Cordero. Okay. And that's why, I'm glad that you felt comfortable sharing that, because you have a lot to share with the world. And this is only your beginning, bro. This is only the beginning of your journey. Like, you just have so much to offer and give and inspire. So, and that's the thing, when you, I don't know, you're frozen on my side. You're frozen. Let's see if I pause it for a second. Okay, we had a little technical difficulty, but we're back. We're back and we're stronger than ever. Okay, so listen, we were talking about society, we got cut off. Cordero is a very strong young man and just has so much to give, man. I hope he inspires you. I hope he empowers you. I hope this lets you know that you are not a victim, okay? You don't have to come from, you know, a perfect background, okay? It's like smooth seas never created a strong captain, okay? And he's so young that he could be playing the victim and, you know, trying to find his way on the dark side, but hell no, he's choosing light, man. And he's showing you that you could do it on the light side, so that when he has his own legacy, his own children and his grandchildren, he's showing them, listen, I did it like this, and so can you. Okay, and he's speaking to you, whoever needs to hear this right now and watch through this whole video, he's speaking to you. You were meant to hear this message, okay? So with that said, Cordero, you know, let's just go back to like the top three tips you're gonna give for someone who's starting in this business.
That's a good question. So the top three tips I would say for starting anything is to realize the number one thing, or not in any particular order, but one thing is, don't think that it's just a business. It is a spiritual journey, just like anything else that you do, and take it as such. That means that there's going to be things that's working against you. That means that there's going to be ups and downs, highs and lows before you make it to what you feel is the end destination. If you ever make it, allow it to be a lifelong thing if you do, but realize it's not just a business. It's also always 100% of the time going to be a spiritual journey. The second thing is, of course, you'll hear this time and time again. Have a strong why, but be in tune with that clarity. Okay, these are my number one thing. So instead of saying have a big why, because you know that, the second thing would be have clarity on that. Have clarity on your end goal, kind of like the 7 levels deep thing. Not only what your end goal is, but why that's your end goal and what that means to you. Not only what your end goal is, but where you're starting from. Really assess your starting point. Really know, okay, I'm starting here and it's going to take this to get there. So that way you're not thinking, well, that's my end goal, I should be able to hit that in a week. When really that's going to take you 10 years to hit. You know, assess your situation and have clarity on everything you do. Don't be afraid. Don't let anybody put fear in your heart when you ask for clarity. I know there's sometimes when somebody will say something and you be like, wait, what'd you say? But you won't ask them that because you're afraid of how they're going to take it. But that's not the problem. Your number one thing is make sure you have clarity. And the third thing I would have to say is don't be afraid to put in work. You know, everyone knows that you don't get anywhere without putting work in. It's absolutely necessary, and that's something very important to me, because it's hard, but it's the only way around it. It's been proven there's no way around it. I mean, there might be somebody who got lucky, but even then, it was more of a burden to them when they got to the deal than a blessing. There's a difference, because if you get lucky and you get something, you're not really going to understand the grass, how to handle it or what to do with it. And it's probably, I have a saying called easy come, easy go, or that's a saying, but I translate that to more than just anything else. I translate it to literally everything. If you get it easy, it's liable to fly out of your hand just as quick. Like fast money, you can lose that money really quickly. However you got something is generally how it's going to go. So if you grind and work hard for it and consistently build up to it, then most likely it's going to take somebody really fighting and working against you to take that away from you. And most likely it's going to stay with you and your family throughout your lineage. So the first thing, to recap, I guess, know that it's a spiritual journey. Second thing, have clarity. And the third thing, remember, easy come, easy go. So there's no way around hard work. Even if you could get around it, you wouldn't want to. So just be dedicated and committed to things. So those are my top 3 tips for how to do anything.
Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. So powerful. Clarity is key, man. If you are not clear, the higher power does not know what to give you. You just cut in and out. That's okay. That's okay. We had a technical difficulty, but we're still going strong. Okay, so before Cordero gets to the curb by his MacBook Air, who's not serving him very well right now, but did the whole time, where can they reach you on Snapchat, Cordero? Where can they
Okay,
on
I don't even
Snapchat?
know what my Snap.
Oh,
So my Snapchat. So it's HNOSZN. So that's HNO season. Or the name is Cordero, and there's like a little lamb emoji, and it's hustle and motivate because that's all I'm trying to do, and that's important to me. That's kind of what the only reason why I will be on Snapchat or to start a YouTube channel or to have Instagram is not to show off anything that I may have or may think I have, but it's to work hard and put it out there and put myself out there so that maybe anybody who's watching this or who wants to can be motivated by it, because that's one of the greatest human acts is to inspire and to motivate people. So I've heard. So I would really love to do that for you all. So if you guys would like to follow me on Snapchat, please. The information, like she said, she'll link down below. And I will be starting a YouTube channel. If you do follow me on Snapchat, then put some pressure on me to go ahead and get that YouTube channel started. Hold me accountable for it. And I'm looking forward to helping anybody that I can. So absolutely. And if you guys have any questions, if you guys work in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee area, and you have questions, or if there's any, you just want to partner, whatever, just reach out to me. Maybe just talk to me and give me some advice or take some advice, what have you. Let's just talk and know your character and your soul and share that with me. I'll be more than happy to listen. So that's what it is.
Awesome. Yes, I love it. And he doesn't have Instagram. He doesn't have YouTube. He only has Snapchat, okay? I told him he should do a YouTube channel. He wants to do a YouTube channel. He will. I feel like he has a lot to offer. I'm sure you guys would agree with me, okay? If you guys thought this video added some value, please, drop some comments below, drop some questions. But I will put Cordero's Snapchat below. Okay, thank you guys. For those who stayed for the long haul, thank you so much for staying with us. Cordero, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us your first deal, okay, your background, your aspirations for the future. And I see beautiful, beautiful, great things for you, my friend. I'm excited for you. And I'll hold you accountable to that YouTube channel, that's for sure. Now he's cutting out on us, so we can kind of hear you. But for now, to YouTube University, we're going to say peace out, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Cordero, I will see you very soon, okay? And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Now go make that money.